Well, hello there. This is Tamil, and I'm making a video for Clip Studio Paint, Isometric drawing. So basically, I'll go over very briefly on how to make isometric things and what it is. After that, I will show you some of the tools. There's a great person and great artist who made materials for isometric drawing, and I will link that to my article, and in the article you can find those tools. They're completely free. You can download it for Clip Studio Paint. And after that, there's like a very long time lapse that I made for an isometric drawing, and sometimes I'll be popping in and maybe like saying things and what was my process and stuff like that. So this is more of a very brief overview of the tools and a very huge time lapse. So if you're looking for something more technical, I highly recommend checking out the article that is by that artist who made the tools, because he goes like very in depth and it helps a lot, but it's all in text, so I prefer watching stuff. So let's get started. So what is asymmetrical? Asymmetrical is basically things that have the same angle to it in terms of perspective. So if you're using 1-point perspective or 2-point perspective, there's foreshortening, so things that are far away are gonna get smaller. But in isometric view, it's not really the case, and it is better to show how it works. And in short, I'll just go over how to make an easy isometric island, so you can maybe try it for yourself and then see if it works out for you. What you want to do is to go to Figure tool, go to Rectangle, and let's just make a rectangle of any kind, right? After that, you want to do Free Transform, which I just do with Control T, and basically you want to rotate it and make a rhombus that will be like this, and you want to hit enter, and you want to hold shift while you're rotating it. Once you hit shift, you want to do Control T again, and this is the difference. You can see the control points are right here. Before that, they were only on the corners, and you want them to be right there. After you hit Command or Control T, you want to turn off Keep Aspect Ratio in the tool property. If you don't have tool property, you want to go to Window, and it's right here, and just click on that. And in here, you go into height, and you can do 60, and that is going to give you an isometric view of the square. If you want to make a cube, for example, an easy way would be just duplicate it with Control J, Control T again to move it. And by holding Shift, I am moving it around, the x-axis, and now I have the two planes. And this is pretty much how you construct things in isometric, and that is the best part about isometric view, is that it's very technical and time-consuming, but at the same time you're getting a very easy tools that are not very daunting if you're like a beginner. So after that, I just went to the straight line, and you can do this with any tool you want, and I'm just going to make a straight line. And all of the parallel lines, they're all the same. There's no angle to it. And after that, you're done. You made, whatever you shape that is you going for. And that is how I constructed my entire scene. And you will see that in the tutorial later, in the time lapse. So after you're done, this is isometric. But making it every time is kind of confusing. And, you want to make the best out of your time as an artist, and that is why there are two materials that are great for whatever you're going for, that artist has created, and you can find that in the article. So one of them is a pattern that is for isometric view. So if you have the pattern and you go into the object of operation, you can just size it down or size it up or move it. and then you're getting a perfect isometric view. And sometimes if you have the brush and let's say I want to create something and I hold shift to see where my line is and I try to align it, it does a pretty good job, but at the same time it's not going to be perfect in most cases. And if you're going for that hand-drawn experience, then you can do that. But at the same time, if you want a more precise way of doing this, you can just drop the isometric ruler, and in the ruler will affect your brushes, and you can just simply get any brush that you want, and you can just draw the isometric view and not worry about anything, and just construct it with more and more lines. And that is pretty much how you would do it in the real life. And Clip Studio Paint makes it super easy to use these rulers and not mess up your perspective at all. And I think it's pretty amazing. And then you just remove the lines that you don't like, and you have your drawing. You have your first draft of sketching, and then you can do the line art and just finish the drawing. Another really cool thing about this is that the rulers also affect your tools. So for example, if I go into the figure and I pick ellipse, the ellipse is also going to be affected. So I can create an ellipse in perspective in the isometric view and not worry about the getting it right or aligning it precisely. So now I can see that I made this and I can make like maybe a cylinder out of it. If I duplicate it and I move it here, I can connect the lines, and that's it. Pretty much, you can just keep constructing, and it's pretty fun and pretty easy. It's just time consuming. That was one of the reasons why my time lapse was so long, and I wish I could shorten it and really condense it, like really, really hardcore. It's pretty much like almost 30 minutes of time lapse because it took me about 3 to 4 days. And in short, I made a little room that looks maybe like an Asian inside household of maybe a person who admires samurai or martial arts, and I just created that as a fun project. And in the time lapse you can see how I made it, and maybe you can learn something from it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I hope you read the article that I wrote. It has a little bit more technical things, just a bit, and read the article definitely by the person who created these tools. These are really amazing. They're totally free to download. Thanks for watching, and I'll comment a little bit on the time-lapse. Happy painting. Well, this is my time-lapse, and unfortunately the first half of it I just cut it off because it was not anything important. I just was messing around with the rules, and I was trying to make the room, and I really struggled with the idea of the room. And I think that was like the biggest part about it, is the fact that I didn't have an idea for it, even though I went out and I got a bunch of references from other artists to see what they did, and they did so many like cool stuff, and I also wanted to make something really, really amazing. So this is what I came out with, and as just a kind of an idea of what to draw and coming up with the inspiration of what the story is behind, maybe these questions will help you. Because when I draw, right, when I create an environment, I create a room, I always think, well, how old is that person? What is their craft? What do they do as a job? Maybe they have kids. Maybe, set on the fact that maybe it's new. Maybe the room that you're working on is modern, or is it ancient? And I think that's like the most important part about creating an environment like this, is to give it a lot of story, because without the story, it's really not going to say much to the person who's viewing it. And I think that's what I like isometric, because it's really, really easy to construct things in 3D space. Like, you don't have to have a lot of skill on creating something. You just have to keep constructing more and more. and that will, it took away so much from the technical point, especially if you're using Clip Studio Paint. It's going to make your drawing easier, and now you can focus on the story. Now you can focus on creating and assembling objects. And I think that the biggest problem that I had in here was actually the big, medium, small. Like, where do I put the bed? How do I assemble the tea table? What is going to be the person who lives here? And I think I was really inspired by one of the cute little animated shorts, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's if you type into the search engine that Cartoon Network monster, I think it's gonna show up because it's a little short, maybe like 10 minutes or so. It was about a little monster teenager who lives amongst humans, and because he's a lizard, it was kind of insinuating the fact that he's maybe like an Asian descent, because he was very big fan of those monster movies, kind of like Godzilla and like other movies like that. So maybe my character is something similar to his, because he had the poster, he has the tea little place, and just trying to give a lot of story to the character that I'm trying to create. And I didn't put any specific character into the scene because I was really focusing on the environment. And I think if I added the person sitting there next to the tea part, next to the tea table, I think that would have kind of destroyed the storytelling, because now you see the person and you're assuming a lot of things. But if it's just a room, there's a lot of mystery to it, because maybe it was not made by him. Maybe he's renting it. Maybe he just moved in. Maybe that person is actually it's someone else's apartment that he asked to live in because he doesn't have enough money to live in there. And like all these questions, they're kind of go away the moment you add the character to the scene. Even if it's like a silhouette, I think it's gonna it's gonna change the visual from hey, look at the room. It's going to change to hey, look at the character. And that's pretty much my thinking for this environment. And I spend a lot of time coloring it and refining the line, and I think that took like the longest for me, because I should have really just started with color, but I wanted to try my new technique that I do sometimes. Is usually what I do is what you will see later, is the fact that I do like a 50% gray and 50% saturation, and then I fill in the entire room with different hues, like different colors, and then after that I create like a new layer under like low opacity, and that's going to make the room more cohesive in terms of color, and then I keep working on that, and I think that takes like forever, and I don't recommend doing it. But yeah, I think that was like the hardest part for me, like what should I draw in my room. And I really like the tidy bed, because it shows like the person is probably very disciplined, and he has the sword next to this poster, and maybe he looks at it every time he picks up clothing from there or something like that. There's like all these like little details that you can add to your scene, and maybe I think that adding furniture to the room is probably like the hardest part for me. Like in the initial sketch, I actually have very little things, but then later down the line I added a tree, and then I added a little kind of a bamboo thingy next to the window, like a plant where the bamboo is growing from. And I think that part was to combine, like contradict whatever the rest of the painting is, because there's all these sharp angles and sharp furniture and sharp poster, and then that room is filled with light from a circular window, and that's what I think helped me to create this room, is to balance out straight lines with circular lines and different things like that. So just keep thinking about these things when you draw. I think that helps me to create more story, to create more things to the scene, and maybe it'll help you as well. So maybe not. I don't know. It really depends on your style and what the goal is. For me, it's always trying to give a thing, a story or theme. And for some reason lately, I've been very focusing on nostalgia. Like, I really want this place to feel nostalgic, even if that person has never been there, or he has never, had any connections to that culture, or like room or space or whatever it might be. I just want them to feel nostalgic, because nostalgia is like the easiest connection that you can make, and sadly Hollywood is like exploiting that. But it really depends on whether you look at it bad or where you enjoy it. There's some things that are nostalgic and they're nice, and there's some things that are nostalgic and they're using your feelings to make money. But that's what I liked about some of the artwork, that I find sometimes with the very bright orange sun. I really like the sunset, the golden hour. There's some games that have like that lighting, and that's where I was going here too. So I wanted to give it like a very sunset or sunrise kind of feel, and to just add to the story as if the person would have been here and would have enjoyed chilling in this room. So yeah, I don't know what else to add, and I hope you enjoyed the time lapse. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have like any questions, and I will try to best my to answer them. And yeah.